Project. Sorry about that glitch in the matrix. Right quick, we want to let everybody know it's live like that, you know. Josh be ready for whatever up in here. He keep it moving. So we was just again doing our welcoming. Let everybody know you can catch up, on all the episodes and tune in with us live via the Periscope and the Twitters and tune in and all that fun stuff. But let me tell you something, we have some great guests, as I was saying earlier, and we also, looking for some more opinions, ideas, views, presentations. We want you to come and rotate with us and let's have some conversations about what's going on, not only here in the city, as it regards to social justice issues and education and whatever stems, around that as you connect with, whether it's agriculture, whether it's business, we want to communicate and connect the dots here. This is an access point right here, and we want to turn that into, a place where we can build and we can put some of these thoughts and ideas and solutions into practice, and I really appreciate everybody who's been giving us feedback off air and literally, these conversations. Sometimes people, trip because they be like, yo, I missed the show, and Thursday at 9 is hard to do and all that. But I trust and believe. I say this every week on the show, but trust and believe we're creating opportunities for these platforms and these conversations to be extended way past just these Thursday mornings, because it's so important. It's common sense, it's community led, and we're creating different models and potentials and see how we can venture into different places together. I look at a lot of my guests as expert practitioners. What is this, a runway? Hey, come over here.
Over there?
Yes, sit next to me.
Thank you.
My guest has arrived, looking like she jumped out of a magazine. You come from a photo shoot?
Classified.
Classified information, that's right. How you doing?
Hey, how are you doing?
Good morning.
Good morning.
I know you're always ready for whatever, so you're jumping right into the seat.
Yes,
yeah. Scoot up so you can talk to the mic directly and say good morning to my people. You can put on the headphones so you can hear it.
Okay, thanks.
Yes, Miss Yvonne. Good morning. Good morning. You can take a seat. Join us as we have this conversation this morning. How you doing?
Good, thank you.
Good. Sorry about the mix up in location.
Really good to see you.
Every time. Sorry about the mix up in location.
Oh, no problem. I'm always ready for whatever.
I'm glad. You're a traveler, you're a writer. Introduce yourself to my audience.
I'm Yvonne Ochillo. I'm Fidel's friend, first of all.
That's right.
And it's a great honor to be on his show. I respect and admire him. By profession, I'm a lawyer, business lawyer. I practice business, real estate, estate planning, and family law, so transactional and litigation as well.
So what's the name of your practice, and just let people know how they can find out more about it or get in touch with your firm?
Well, my practice is Ochilo Law Offices. That's the name of it. You can contact me via phone. Telephone is 262-955-5377, or via email, ochilolaw@gmail.com.
Nice. You got to say that a little slower, though, so people can
Ochilo Law, so Ochilo, OCHILOLAW
Awesome. And so now, here on the Educational Arts platform, what we like to do is sort of take a journey. And you talk.
I can't hear.
You can't hear. Can you bring them headphones up? So we take journeys and we walk with people through their lives, not just where they're at today and what they may be doing, but how did they get there? How did they get to that place, and what lessons was learned along the way that they could share, that could help the audience, especially in regards to education, as it regards to art and how those things mix. So we talk about a lot of different practical solutions here on this platform, and we try to introduce our audience to great minds and people who maybe think different and try to help in different ways. And so I know, just as a law practice, I know we've had conversations about how you want to help people and how you want people to know that you're available to help them if they need your services. How did you even get into law? Talk about your background and what that educational spark was to really take you and propel you to want to study law.
Oh, wow. Complex question. So my inspiration for that stems from growing up in Kenya. That's where I'm originally from. And being in the African continent, you see a lot of nation states that are experiencing turmoil, that are experiencing strife, and you see how the role of the government and extrajudicial killings, and even things that you consider injustices, how that affects people. It affects their way of life. It affects their livelihood. So my inspiration to actually become a lawyer was sparked by that, to find out, how can the law play a role in helping nation states to become basically tools of change and inspiration, and how can people benefit from that. So that's what drove me into it. It's a tough journey, obviously, and I'm still growing into it.
So talk about it, like, literally. How old were you when? Yeah, literally,
literally,
like, how
oh,
old were
God.
you, or was it something that people like pushed you to pursue? Was it something
Mm-hmm.
that you, as a young girl, just decided, like, I really want to jump in this and help my people? How did it really spark?
Well, I used to, obviously, watching TV, you would see like the lawyers litigating and stuff like that.
The
And
judges.
I'm like, and the
Yeah.
judges. And I'm like, wow, I would love to do that. And no one really pushed me. I would say my parents did encourage me to explore it, to see how I could use that for, like I said, an instrument of change. So once I had that conviction in me, there was nothing that would stop me. There was no turning back. I was going to do whatever it took to, get my degree, and after that to become seasoned, to keep on growing and evolving. So that's really, I'm still on the journey. Obviously, I'm still learning from other attorneys. I can't disclose my age, but I'm timeless.
There you go.
As you see from this, radio stream. So
There you
go. But yeah, so really that's.
So how long have you been in America?
I've been here over 10 years now. I came as an undergraduate student. I went to Carroll in Waukesha, and then from there I went on to Marquette Law School. So I've been here a couple of years. I consider Milwaukee kind of one of my homes away from home, so to speak. It has given me a chance to grow and evolve, to meet great people like you, obviously. I remember when we first met, walked through the public market together. Remember that?
I do.
Yeah,
I do.
back in 2009, and
Yeah.
you shared your journey with me. So being here has really given me the opportunity to, expand my mind and my horizons.
Whenever I can, and whenever the space of the universe allows the explosive intersection between myself and someone from the home continent, I try to make sure that I allow some real interaction to happen, because far too often Africans in America don't get to communicate directly with Africans from the continent. Africans born in America don't know enough personal relationships between Africans from home. So that goes both ways, but I'm speaking from the Africans in America, the American Africans. We don't necessarily, some of us don't get in that, but so that's one of the reasons why I wanted also to have you. And I always sort of invite you to things, and I shoot things to you because I think it's important, because of a lot of reasons that are layered in the way that our people got disconnected and got fragmented, And so any chance that we can, I think it's just a rich opportunity to share and a rich opportunity to learn. I have memories of families and experiences with my family and families from the continent, and I grew up in that environment, and it makes a lot of difference, for people here in America who've been so disconnected and so brainwashed out of their own heritage and their own roots, if you will, to just have some form of connection. So I thank you for taking time out of your busy day and your Thursday morning schedule for joining the Educational Arts Project and communicating with my listening audience.
My pleasure.
So what's some of the experiences you've had, like, on your path through school and your journey of getting the education and the law degree? We talked to different students on this platform. We talked to teachers and educators. So just know that we talk a lot about schooling, classrooms, and all of that stuff, and what happens, college level, what have you. So, just what's some of your experiences that really stick out in your mind as far as like that you could look back and you'll be telling your grandkids about, like going to college, trying to get your law degree so you can help ultimately and service ultimately. We just want to hear some of the stories from the journey.
Oh,
that
God.
stick out.
Well, there's a lot of stories.
Not the classified ones. I ain't trying to go into those folders. Just the ones that you can share.
Okay, let me go through my memory banks then.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stories, but one in particular that stands out is, my first time coming to America. I mean, my first time being immersed in a culture that was completely different from myself. Coming here not knowing anyone, coming as a student and having to find my way to navigate that, not only through a different cultural system, but a different
So let me ask you something. Did they brainwash you and say, don't mess with those black people? Did they tell you that when you first got here? They said, don't go to Milwaukee and don't talk to those black people.
One of the things that so let me back
yes
up
or no?
a little
Hold on,
bit.
yes or no, and then you can finish your story.
No,
did they tell you
no,
that?
they,
Okay,
they
good.
didn't
Just for the
tell me
record,
that.
y'all,
They
didn't tell
me
her that.
They didn't tell me that.
It's a
but,
vicious rumor.
One of the things that, so going back to my train of thought is, navigating a different culture, a different political, social, economic atmosphere, finding your way through that, obviously forming relationships, and also navigating the school, the education system, and going through that. So that was a major, major shift in the person that I am. I mean, it really gave me courage. I had to navigate a lot of situations that really I didn't know always everything about. I was relying on, of course, professors were there and you'd meet other students, but I really didn't have that support system. It wasn't like my family was here and, you can just go run home or, talk to them like that. There's a distance. So that's one of the major experiences that stuck out.
So how did your support system start to build?
Well, my support, I really invested a lot, and I still do, in relationships. And it was very slow. I mean, I luckily had the opportunity to meet a lot of international students at Carroll who were here studying as well. So that kind of, that kind of bond, like, you're all in a different country, you're navigating a different system. So we kind of had that bond, and you met people from very different walks of life than your own, different backgrounds. So that was kind of very inspiring to me as well, because I learned a lot from them. You always have to put yourself outside your culture to grow. Because if you're always surrounded by the same like-minded people all the time, you don't get a chance to evolve and expand your mental system and also cultural appreciation. So that's how I see it anyway. So that really
that's how we
helped
see
me. I know that's how you see it. Yeah, we're on the same wavelength.
That's right.
So that really helped me as well. But going back to your point earlier about the disconnect between African Americans here and Africans in the diaspora, Africans in diaspora and Africans on the continent, I think that's a real shift. I think there's a lot of misconception about what our cultural practices are, what the norms are, what the mores are, and I think that having these type of conversations, like the dialogue that you and I are having right now, or the events that you put on in the community, I think that's a way to open up people's minds and kind of show that we are connected more than we are different. And going back historically, Africa is the beginning of civilization. It is the cradle of civilization. I mean, when you talk about Kemet and Songhai and other ancient civilizations in Mali, Kush, that is where it all starts from. And
that's right.
Regardless of the images that are always portrayed by the media, and I'm not saying all of them are biased,
that's right,
but the majority of those images, regardless of what the economic or social atmosphere might be at the time, whether it's problems that are being experienced because of genocide or other things, that is not the whole narrative. So I think it's important to have these type of dialogues like we're having to show that you know, there are positives and negatives everywhere, just like in America as well.
That is so true.
You know.
And that's again the reason why I need you to engage sometimes when I reach out.
Oh God!
All right, on air, right? Because what you're saying is that important. And I need you to bring the family. I need you to bring the other voices.
My sister.
Sister, you want to say something? You want to add on?
She's my sister from another mother.
Yeah, right. And if you want to, you know what I'm saying, you can. But I appreciate you bringing it up. I'm saying, like, that's part of the point. Those voices are so important. That connection is so important. Everything you're saying is real. Which takes me back to your original point of like the things you saw growing up in government and your homeland in Kenya inspired you to look at things a different way and say, you know what, I want to jump into the system and make change from the inside to be able to affect policy, legislation, government influence. Now, paint a picture for us who may not have a thorough background about maybe say like the politics sort of landscape of like a daily life of a young Kenyan back then. Like help us know what that is. Take us home.
He is getting deep on me. Wow. Okay. You know, it's a very complex question, first of all, because there are a lot of different influences that have kind of penetrated what you consider like traditional African life.
And that's what I kind of want you to peel back the layers a little bit.
God.
We're here, and you don't have to be.
Has me sweating.
You don't have to be nice about it. I want you to speak. I want you to speak. You know, from that other side of that law degree, looking back home, and just tell it.
Okay.
All right.
Well, I'm always nice. I kind of.
You are. You're correct.
I'm refined.
You are. Call it what you want. You careful, and so
I'm not always refined. Let's get that straight.
let's also make sure that we just help the audience like get that clear picture. Don't be too careful. Just share.
Okay, so you know, going back to like I can.
You gonna go home and be a politician? You gonna go back to Africa and be a politician?
I don't know. I don't know what is in the cards yet. I don't know.
You gonna go home and do some political moving and grooving?
I don't know if that's in the cards for me yet. You know, but you know, there's a lot to your question. I'll try to do my due diligence and answer it as best as I can. Well, you take a sip of your coffee. Where's my coffee?
We'll get you some.
No, I'm just kidding. So there.
I don't want to disrespect you with this coffee. Like it's I mean, you from home. This is a different kind of coffee.
No, it's cool. So traditionally, like for example, in Kenya, there are various tribes and languages. So each and every person has their own tribe. Like for instance, I'm a Luo tribe. So that in its sense gives you your cultural bearing, you know, your norms, mores, what is expected of you, what type of rites of passage can you go through and everything. And then there's, of course, the Western influence, which comes about as a result of colonization. Many countries, of course, as you are familiar, have been colonized. And we, for example, in Kenya, were colonized by the British, you know, got our independence in 1963. And from then on, there's an infusion of that culture still that stems today. You know, things like, oh, you're drinking tea at 4 o'clock, that's a British thing, or you're having high tea at noon. The parliamentary system, that stems from the British. You know, we had a council of elders, but the British came and infused that. So there's been a mixture. There's been sort of like a middle ground, and I wouldn't say that it's adopted by everyone, because the younger generation, they tend to gravitate more towards the Western culture. So having people like speaking their languages or having that strong connection to their tribes, that's depends on how you're raised. You know, were you raised in a family where that's critical and that you have to have a connection to your roots and your tribes, or were you raised in a family where it was like more Western, or was it mixed? You know, so that impacts a person, how you outlook and what is your world vision, basically. And so right now, I would say, and this is a very general statement because I'm not going deep into each and every country, and obviously those are the differences there. but I would say that most of the countries have a sort of a mixture of the Western influence and traditional. And I think that there has to be a conscientious effort by maybe your parents or whoever, your guardians who raise you, to infuse that in you, to infuse the pride of your culture and the pride of knowing your roots and where you came from. It doesn't mean that everything that is cultural is right, or that everything that is cultural would be something that would fit into the Western society, but it does mean that you have an understanding of where you came from, and you have a sort of a background that you can go back to, you know. So I would turn the question to you and, you know, bring it to America and say, you know, when you were growing up, you had, because I remember when we first met and you talked about the influence of your parents and grandparents and into what you're doing today. And that kind of gave you a strong, like, historical perspective, and that's why you're able to connect to the youth as you do today. So I would say that there's a mixture. Mm-hmm. But where does your interest in, you know, Africa and the motherland and you know, wanting to know more about that, where does that come from? And I'm doing this to you as your guest.
Wow, yeah. Well, let's switch seats.
Let's go.
Let's go. Well, that's
ready.
That's awesome. That's awesome, man.
Call me Floyd Yvonne.
Money. You forgot the money part. You got to add the money in there. You got to add the money there. Yeah. So that's an awesome
segue.
Totally,
Mm-hmm.
because everything you're saying is so reflective of the same experience that we have here. You know, it's each individual home almost. We have different tribal customs and mores and traditions, if you will, in a different way. All of it came by way, but we carry some certain things through each of our families, and some of us came to Milwaukee from Mississippi, for example. Some of us mm-hmm. came to Milwaukee from Arkansas, for example, by way of home. But so some of those things that have kept up with us have been passed down. So fortunately, I come from a family where, you know, we've always understood that we are standing on the shoulders of the ancestors and our forefathers and foreparents and great grandparents that came before us. Not just like in the clouds all the way back to Africa, somewhere that a lot of us can't even trace necessarily, or it might take a long lifetime to trace necessarily. But just even our own lineage, our own personal lineage. I just am fortunate that that's always been important in my household. And so I'm also fortunate that, you know, we didn't have a mystery God in my household. You know, we weren't, fear wasn't put in us about like religion and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. So the connection to strength and the connection to power was information. It was like, how much can you learn? That would make you anointed. That would make you connected. Mm-hmm. And so it was a thirst for information growing up, a thirst for a hunger. Like we understood that the more you knew, the more you could do. Exactly. And so not having been brainwashed in a lot of ways, I was able to get right to the source. Mm-hmm. Go right back home. Mm-hmm. Go right back to the throne. Okay. Why wouldn't I go right back to the throne where my throne? Like where I'm
on a throne too.
No question. It's our throne. It's our throne. Exactly. It's our throne. So it's like, you know, I'm like, yo, I see the throne. I ain't stopping nowhere else. Ain't no short stops. Ain't no detours. So that was at an early age. Yeah. And another reason that came about is because in early hip hop, in the early 80s, where I caught wind of hip hop culture and hip hop expression and music that resonated with me, Africa was at the center of it. Mm-hmm. And that was just a cultural expression that was passed down to that generation from their parents. Their parents were Afrocentric. Africa was at the center of it, mm-hmm. of the civil rights movement, of the Black is Beautiful movement, the Black Power movement. Africa was at the center of that. And so the Afros, the dashikis, that was all, people trying to reconnect in some way. And our parents and our it goes back. We always have tried to reconnect. It's like your DNA. It's going to come out one way or the other. And so And no matter how much you try to suppress it, no matter how much you try to press it, it's gonna come out. So we have to, be honest about that and be forthright about wanting to learn more about what that means. And especially here, being in America, be from America, you said it, the diaspora, we everywhere. And so why wouldn't we want to be on that throne that's everywhere? This earth is our home. Africa is just the throne.
I couldn't have said it better.
Bars. Now listen, we're gonna get back to some more of your story. We're gonna take a quick break, Josh, and jump into a little bit of sounds. You're on 101.3 Live Milwaukee Radio. This is a pulse of the community, the Educational Arts Project. We'll be right back.
Oh my God, how are you?
Awesome. Good morning. Good to see you. All right.
Good to see you. That's Isis.
Isis.
Fidel. He said
I've met him several times.
Really?
Yeah, I remember.
Oh, yeah. She
She
said
met
she
me
knows you.
several
As soon as
times.
I said I was coming
Really?
over, yeah.
Okay.
Sorry for being late. I could hear you like when we were
Sounds
looking
fun.
for this.
Sounds fun for the record.
Sounds fun.
Yeah.
What?
If I don't remember, you met me several times. It just sounds fun.
It's just in the community.
Okay.
Learning all the time.
Sounds fun.
Since the 80s.
Since the 80s, the early 80s. Your name Isis, and I don't remember you. That's amazing.
Sorry.
Well, my name was Connie.
Okay.
We were
I
looking
changed
for
it to
it.
Isis.
Oh, word. Word.
But I knew your brother. Oh, yeah, I knew you.
Okay. Yep. See, that'd be the thing too. Some people just think I'm my brothers, which I am my brothers, but
Yeah, I've never met any of your brothers.
you sure?
None of the events I've come to. I haven't seen them.
Well, soon come. Soon come. You been good?
Yeah, I'm good. How
Can
are
we
you
talk
doing?
about the water project? at all?
Oh Lord.
Is it too premature? Is
It's
it?
premature.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
You and we'll talk about that. Like
Yeah.
feel
You know I'm
like
excited about that.
one-on-one.
You know I'm like, let's move something on that.
I know. He helped me.
You made it
When I
sound
told
really
him about
simple.
it- When I told him about it, no, it's not really simple. When I told him about it, he connected me to Alice Waraksa. You know Alice from the River West Current.
Media instantly.
And then
Let's get this out here.
Yeah, and then I wrote about it and everything, but the process of it is daunting. It's
Mm.
not an easy thing to do. I mean, it's not, and it requires a lot of money too. So, but you and
But
I
you
will
mapped
talk
it out.
about-
You can explain to me what that means. The amount of money.
know,
or the process.
you are an educator. Okay, look at him. It's like cracking the whip
It's
on
not
me.
easy. I mean, if you can think it up and you can map out the process, we can do it.
We have
It can happen.
we have like the big plan in
Mhm.
place. That's there. That's
We
always
got a
been
small
there.
start. Can we?
But now
can
it's
we do the
like
small start first?
Yeah, and we've done a couple of things. So yeah, you and I can powwow on that, like together.
I'm with it. Let's make it happen. I'm with it. Let's make it happen.
Isis is laughing at me. Yeah, he literally has me sweating because of his questions. They're so deep. I'm like, oh my god.
You gotta be careful what you say.
You're a lawyer, girl.
Yeah, she's careful with her words and very much poignant, like a lawyer. Like you're supposed to be. You probably been like that your whole life.
You know, sometimes I can.
You know, some
if
little
I'm
kids, you be like,
comfortable,
you make a good lawyer because they can just argue really good and they got their point. They can just express themselves in a certain way.
Yeah, if I'm with you, it's different. I'll be different, but
So let's.
this is
Okay,
your
we're not gonna
audience.
talk water.
What do you want to talk about? You want
I want to talk law.
Okay.
Talk litigation.
Yeah.
What can people do? I know you don't really do like civil law necessarily.
I do civil, like the
Civil.
transactional part. That's civil. So
Okay.
like the business.
So business law.
Mm-hmm.
So what kind of game can we give to people on some basic level? We can talk law. We can talk business startup law.
Yeah, business startup. If
'Cause
you
you
want
know-
to set up your business, what can you do? What are the tips?
Yeah, 'cause people need that
stuff
information.
Like that. Yeah, and talking about entrepreneurship and how that's critical
And real
for like
estate.
the African
There we go. There we go.
African American community.
I did want to get
being
into like, did you
empowered.
build a community of Africans around you when you got here? Like, did you connect with the rest of the Kenyans and like
Swipe left. Oh, wait,
swipe right? Yeah, the Nigerians. How did that work? You know,
Yeah,
is that important?
You can talk about
Is that important?
I mean, I really, when I first came here, I literally did not have like a big African community support. Like everyone I met like through either other friends or people who like, you know, I was at an event and I met them and found out it was not like, so. But yeah, I'm good.
Okay.
I'm gonna leave these off so that I can not
So you
sweat
can-
so much.
So I'm good. It's your world. We are back, the Educational Arts Project. Some inspirational conversation. I like that inspirational soundtrack in the background. 101.3 This is Milwaukee Radio. This is The Pulse. This is the Educational Arts Project. I am your host, Viva Fidel. And with me today, I have Yvonne Ochillo from Ochillo Law Offices.
Thank you, yes.
Thank you for joining us. Thank you for extending this conversation to places that, really are helpful, in a lot of ways. It's helpful conversation. It's healthy conversation. We were talking a lot before the break. I want to switch gears a little bit. We were talking about education. We were talking about the homeland and tradition, and you flipped the question on me. I was interviewed on my own show. I love it. Great question, by the way. We want to make sure that we let people know sort of your expertise level, which is law, real estate law, business law to be specific, and in your practice, which I want you to communicate again how people can get in touch with your practice if they might need your services or want to ask some questions.
Sure. Well, basically, my firm is a boutique law firm, so it's half transactional and half litigation.
What does that mean? Talk to people who don't know what that means.
Okay. The transactional part of it has to do with the business and real estate and even estate planning. So why it is important to know about how you can set up your business right is so that you avoid legal pitfalls that end up make you end up in litigation. So we help people, individuals and or small businesses, if they're starting up, help them with their contracts that they need drafted. If they need something reviewed, we would do that. For example, we would also help with filing entities. So, determining what type of entity is best for my business. Should I be a sole proprietorship versus an LLC? Those type of decisions. What type of licenses are required, if any? Kind of giving you a step-by-step that's custom tailored to the client. So a step-by-step strategy, if you will, to kind of help you get your business off to the right start.
A strategic analysis.
Exactly.
So if people need to pursue a strategic analysis of their business or their startup idea, is it best to do that, say, after you raise some money, or is it best to do this if I'm in an early stage, I don't know much, should I spend some money with you first, or should I move on other directions first and then come to you? What's the best order of operations in that way?
Because that wine ain't cheap. But just kidding. That's my personal.
Peace, Matt Brad. Yes, Yvonne. Yeah. So talk about what's the process or your advice, suggested best process.
I'm glad you brought that up, and I think that it's critical to have a lawyer. Obviously, I would like to be the firm of choice, Ochilo Law Offices. I would love to be the law firm that you come to, the go-to firm, obviously. But get your lawyer, accountant involved, because you might end up doing something that you're not really sure of, or you don't know how to navigate the system, and it might end up costing you a lot of money in the long run. So spend that money initially to get a good strategic plan, whether you have a business plan in place or you need a business plan. That's something that is critical to every business. And you spending that money is an investment in your business and making sure that in the long run you're on the right footing. There's a lot of do-it-yourselfers. There are forms online, obviously, that you can access. There's great resources like SCORE, SBA, etc. But those are just the forms. That's not necessarily the strategy, and that's not necessarily going to, in the long run, help you grow your business. And what my firm is about is growing businesses and entrepreneurship, and critically working not only with the African American community. We want to work with everyone, obviously, but especially in our community, we have to have the mindset of creating. We have to have the mindset of being entrepreneurs. Whether you start out small, everything starts out at some point.
That's right.
I remember when I started my practice, I was talking to you about it, and you were like, start with what you have, start with where you are, and I literally started with what I had and where I was. Now, this is not a journey for everyone. It's not for the faint of heart, obviously. If you are going to, if you're not so sure, if you're not able to navigate people, not everyone can be that, but I think it's critical for our community to have that mindset of creating, to have our own, businesses and our own, sort of like our Bronzeville, like the Bronzeville that was here in the past that I hear about all the time.
Right.
Before I got here.
Yeah.
So to kind of have that, not only, and also in the arts too, to also like Absolutely. That segues perfectly into what you do, to have our history and to be proud of it and to showcase it and to make sure that our children, I don't have any right now, but to make sure that the community, the children know about that and they're proud of it.
That's real. So how does that apply to real estate? Now, you spoke across the surface about how it applies to business, and if a person may be interested in entrepreneurship, starting a business, maybe carrying on a business, maybe they're already in business and they just need to do a re-up and a checkup and say, hey, where am I at? And I need an analysis, and that's awesome that you provide those services. How about on the real estate level? If somebody, which is business, somebody wants to jump into that business, and what's that approach? What's that order of operations look like from your angle?
Typically for the real estate end, it has to do with, someone, maybe they're in a commercial real estate and they need to purchase property.
I just want to flip a house. I just want to flip a house because in Milwaukee there's thousands of homes that are foreclosed and desolately abandoned, and they letting them go for the low. And I want to grab them because everybody grabbing them, so I want to grab them too. And then I want to flip it. And I'm coming to you. Help me.
Well, that would be a conversation where we would develop a strategic plan on that. You just don't go around flipping houses just like that. I mean, you have to have financing. You have to know, who your contractors are going to be, et cetera, et cetera. So that is something that, a lot of people are drawn to because they see, wow, profit, you can make profit, but it does take time. It does take strategy. So that was something that we could map out with a client, as well as being there for you at a closing. You do need, a lot of people think, well, I don't necessarily need a lawyer at a closing, I have my realtor. Well, not necessarily. They may not necessarily, even though they're doing a good job, but they may not necessarily know all the legal pointers. So that is something that I would, like to do as well for many different members of our community who are thinking about that, investing, or they have property already and they're thinking about expanding.
What about government or nonprofit? How could they utilize your services? Or do you even offer services to government and nonprofit?
Nonprofit corporations, do offer those services. A lot of people have this great idea about a type of nonprofit they would like to have, and they may not necessarily know how to file their Form 1023, which is the form that you need to file to get your tax exempt status. And it's like a 30-page thing, and it's complicated. So that is something we can assist clients with, as well as helping them with their 990s, helping them with their fundraising strategies, marketing strategies, getting their mission and vision down, getting a case statement in place, which is critical, especially when you're trying to fundraise and draw donors to your organization. So we do work with nonprofits as well, and I do take a passion to that because a lot of them have different challenges, but they have unique solutions. It's an era of innovation, and I like the way a lot of nonprofits do that. That is also not an easy thing, obviously, because you're relying on donations, and then you're relying on board members. So board development is critical. You're relying on people to, carry your mission, be ambassadors for you, basically, So that's something that we can help clients with as well, if they're interested.
Shoot out that information again to your law offices, please.
Okay, telephone number is 262-955-5377. Email is ochilolaw@gmail.com. You can also connect via social media, via Facebook. Obviously, it's down right now, but Ochillo Law Offices, you can stay tuned for tips and articles and whatever events are going on with the firm.
Do you teach classes outside of your law practice? Do you do workshops or classes or anything of that nature?
I actually present. Sometimes I'm a guest presenter
I've seen
several
that.
workshops.
I've seen that.
I've invited you too.
Yeah, you're right. I've seen that.
So I do that.
As soon as you said it, I sit down. I know the answer to that question. So talk about that a little bit.
So that goes back to what we're discussing about empowerment. Making sure people are aware of the services that we provide and how they can access those services, and also providing a platform for them to, come and ask their questions, listen to, get some input, get some ideas, feedback. So I do that as well, and I keep you updated. I always invite you.
And I'll make sure I continue to share, even now, whatever you share with me and what's relevant, I will share with my listening audience. Now that you've came and introduced yourself and share it with us, your family, to my listening audience.
Thank you so much.
And I hope some of y'all out there think about how you can utilize her services and her expertise in the area, because sometimes it's just access, and I can't stress that enough. Sometimes people just don't understand or know their point of access. How can I get to this information? How can I get to this legal insight? You know, I want to go through these steps. I want to go through these processes. I can't afford a lawyer. Who do I know that I can trust? You know, things of that nature. All those things come into play sometimes as a blockage. So just you being open, you being accessible is important, you know, and I want to connect as many people as possible to your practice. Serious people that's about business, people that's about, you know, really handling their functions. Don't call her if you're just playing. Don't reach out if you don't really have the budget. And do you do any consultation for free?
To look like this.
Do you do any consultation for free? Or is this like your free consultation for us right now?
I
This one.
typically don't do free consultations. I charge a minimal fee, which is very affordable, $25. That is just for my time, because not every consultation sometimes turns into a business.
That's right. Client.
You know, a client. So that's just a nominal fee for an initial assessment. So I will discuss with you what your plans are, what you're thinking of doing, you know, on the business end, give you sort of a strategy, and then quote you a fee so that if you are willing to move forward and that's something you really want to do, because a lot of people sometimes are just like thinking about it. They're not sure. So
I think that's the best point in time where
really
people need to consult with someone like you, where it's just like a good idea maybe, where it's kind of something where you're conversing with a friend or two, or a partner or associate or two, you know, communicate with somebody, get some good consultation at a very minimal fee before you start expending a lot of time and energy and money and, you know, sacrifice over something that may be going in the wrong direction. Or maybe not the wrong direction. Let's say that it may be going in a direction that could be challenging and it could be avoided.
And it's all challenging, but it's how we deal with the challenges.
That's right.
And then also there's a sliding scale fee. So each client, you know, whether you're a startup, whether you're a small business, there's a sliding scale to make sure that these services are affordable, that you can access them if you do choose to move forward with my firm. So that's something that your audience could also benefit from, knowing that that is an option. Of course, a lot of people, you know, tend to want to go to SCORE, or they're going to Waybaco, which are great organizations, don't get me wrong, and I do respect what they do. But having a lawyer who is specifically trained in that area is what makes the difference. It's like the distinguishing factor.
Absolutely.
So it doesn't mean that if you come to my firm, you can go to SCORE or whatever, but just making sure that you're aware of your options and that, you know, we try to make it affordable and accessible.
That's real, and I'm glad you mentioned those other organizations are available, because people need to know there are you know, accessible organizations that are dedicated to helping people at the beginning phases find resources, support, map out their goals and business plans. So that's important. I want to thank you again for joining us. I know me and you could chop it up for hours about the world and water in Kenya if necessary, but you know, your time is valuable, and my listening audience appreciates you being able to share your expertise with us.
Thank you. I want to thank you for having me, and it's such a pleasure to see you, first of all, and also to be on the show with you. I appreciate it. I also look forward to things that you're going to be doing, Summer of Peace. You
Yes.
know, geared up for
August
that.
4th, Summer of Peace. It's going to be on.
Yes.
Josh.
So I'm looking forward to trying to make it to more of the events that you invite me to.
Yeah, I got a couple things for your calendar, and I really want, you know, to make sure that a lot of our young entrepreneurs and folks that are involved in business startups with the Circulate Entrepreneur Market, with Summer of Peace, with True School, with a few other conglomerates that I help to coordinate. I want you to, you know, sort of become the go-to person for all of that, and I think it only makes sense. And I want you to start training and mentoring little prodigies out here that can execute, you know, on a small level. It's important, you know, because you're only one person, you can only be in one place. But if we multiply your genius with other little geniuses, I think we could do that.
Thank you.
Bring some other lawyers up. Start that inspiration. That's important, y'all.
It's doable. If you have the discipline and you have the courage to go for it, it's doable. A lot of our community, we think about, well, we want to be basketball players, or we want to be, you know, athletes of different kinds, or rappers or musicians. But there's the other part of it that's doable. So Not that those careers are not worthy, of course they are, but just
Yeah.
knowing that you have an option. If you decide to be a woman of letters or a man of letters, you have an option.
And it's never too late.
Exactly. It's never too late.
That's real. So, you got any last words?
No, just to thank you again and really respect what you do. Keep it going, and thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, and thank you for bringing your sister. She's like your security up in here, holding it down.
Security.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
I roll with a crew.
It's the Educational Arts Project. Viva Fidel signing out. We'll chop it up with you all next Thursday. Peace. Oh, man. Oh, my.
Maybe
Thank
once
you.
a
Oh
month.
my God, I don't know how
Thank you.
that's gonna
Can you
turn
come
out.
once a month?
I'm dead.